Remember, try to look like you're...
Better late than never, guys, huh? Hi. Welcome to the live stream. Had a little bit of small issues there at the beginning. You know, Facebook, it didn't want to work. We're going to spend a few minutes, talking about some customer photos to kind of give everybody a chance to, get into, into the live stream and, see where we're at here. Let me see here. Let me pull up some customer photos. How's everybody doing tonight? We're monitoring all of the streams. If you have any questions, certainly ask them, throw them up in the comment section there. I'm seeing a lot of the friendly faces. Let's see here. Let's start out with a little bit of customer photos here. This one here, Mark Hagan. Let's see here. Cundy Hotel. If you're not familiar with this kit, it is a kit that we currently produce, but it was actually part of a larger diorama Christmas kit, we like to call it, that we did years back called Cundy Village. There's quite a few buildings in that whole structure set, and this is the largest one from that building. Great job, Mark. Let's see what we got next. We've got 3 Jims in a row. We've got Jim with his waterfront willies. Looking good, Jim. Looking really, really good here. To stay on the waterfront theme, let's go to Jim and his bait barge.
What's the last name on these, Lenny?
I don't have the last names on these.
Okay.
Some of them I do, some of them I don't. Looking good here. And the last Jim we've got here is Jim Buckley with Secklers. This is one of my favorite buildings, just because you can kind of give it your own attitude. As you can see what Jim did here, looks really, really good. And if I'm looking at that right, it looks to be HO. We do offer that in N scale as well. N scale looks wonderful. But this is a great representation. Great job, Jim. Let's go over to Jeff Glover and his version of Glover's, which might look familiar. It's Bud Smiley's. Did a wonderful job there. Wonderful job, Jeff. Let's see what else we got here. Everybody enjoying so far? Cape Cod. Dave from Cape Cod. Let's see who else is here. Let's see here. We got all kinds of people. Dennis Cox. How you? Kalamazoo. That's where Gibson started out. Love that company. Okay, let's move on to another photo. Chuck with his version of Bull Salvage. That is another kit that we offer in multiple scales. HO scale, O scale. Beautiful structure. It's been out for a while. Let's see here. And we've got 2 more before we kick live to the guys. This here is actually a fairly new structure that we came out with about this time last year. This is Bob Harris and his version of Springfield Station. He's done a little bit of customizing here, as you can see, but looks great. Great job. And our last one, last but not least, is Bill Lowry with his version of Tiley Tool. This is a structure. It's been around for a long time, but this is one of the first really large individual structures that we did. This, Booty Corner, but, oh, geez, not to date myself, but this is probably 15 years ago. Thank you for the support. All right, let's kick it to Art and Jack.
Hey, everybody.
Good evening.
Artie Fay, Jack Ellis, live here from Maine. And, we had the internet thing last night. If you saw the map I put up on Facebook, kind of gave you an idea of the outage. Now, a lot of our customers are northeastern-based, folks that we run into in Springfield and so on. And I said we have Dan Lutz is on. Dan Lutz is a great modeler, always sending things to us. Ron Tober, another regular guy. Trudy Seeley, everybody knows Sweetie Trudy Seeley. She says, I think she says something that she's coming from San Diego, so she's out on the West Coast. I want to just give shout outs to Greg Proctor, Bill Stinson, my own wife Nancy. She says, stay tuned, they're working on it. I'm not sure about that. Dennis Cox, you mentioned earlier. Greg Cassidy, Calvin Saxton, one of our Biggie fans. And what's to say? Gart's, I don't want to get this wrong, Gart's Harry Junction. Good evening from Scotland, one of my favorite places. When Kate got married, when my daughter Kate got married, I did wear a kilt at the wedding.
Yeah.
And the kilt was a gift from James Goldie, a good friend of mine who's unfortunately passed away, but one of my very best friends from Scotland. So I have a very warm spot in my heart for Scotland, and I'm glad to have you aboard. Sorry about what happened last time, because the last time around we had all kinds of gremlins, and this time the whole East Coast decided to crash, Jack. So I think we're just.
I think we did it. We're sorry.
Yeah, it's our fault. At any rate, we have Steve Grimes, who's another regular guy from Brisbane, Australia, and Peter Bergs from Canada, and from Vancouver, Washington, which is almost foreign. Who do we have here? John? No, not John Clark. Where did it go? Anyhow, somebody from Washington, which is where, by the way, my daughter lives in Tacoma, Washington. All kinds of guys. Wayne Hatcher, Bill Friedman. Anyhow, welcome to Bar Mills tonight. We can go through more of these. We wanted to do something special and start doing a shout out, which is what you saw in the beginning segment that Len Lednam, our producer and product manager here, our production manager, featured these photos. And you know, we get 2 or 3 photos a day sometimes, and I don't put them on the site. I can't keep up with it. And a lot of times I'm just kind of doing other things, Jack. You know, it's the photos are great, but I think the best thing about the photos is being able to share the hobby. So if you have photos you want to send in, these were not edited. These were straight from the iPhones and cameras of the modelers out there. So keep that in mind, that we did not go in and fix up the sky or change the colors or recrop them. We just put them out just as you guys would. Not everybody's a super craftsman, and it's amazing to see how many really good craft-like models there are, and that's Jack's department.
Good stuff out there.
Matter of fact, there was a picture of Tylik Tool, and don't we have something with that tonight?
I'm gonna use one that I did later on. We'll show you how I modified Tylik Tool a little bit.
And meanwhile, we had a customer photo on that, Lenny. Did we have any other customer photos, Len? Because
No,
for some reason I thought we had another Bud Smileys.
Yep, we did. We did a Bud Smileys.
I thought we had 2 of them. I thought we had a night shot on one of them.
No, I only saw one of them in here.
Okay, well, if you run across any more customer photos, I thought I'd
Sure.
throw a bunch of them in there. Anyhow, tonight is the first night of the rest of our lives, I guess. But the first Monday is a little late. This is the first Tuesday, which is news to all of us. And we're going to be talking about some new kits that are coming out. Of course, we have the Stewart's Rods kit here. Now, if you get a close-up on this, we mentioned this last time, and it wasn't ready, but now it's getting there. What's held us up with this, Jack, has been the fact that the Cigar Corner kit, we took orders through January 31st.
We're just finishing that up.
Right. And as a matter of fact, Woodland Scenics is finally sending out the last of the vehicles that we need, because almost everybody purchased the vehicles with the kit. And one of the when I say vehicles, I also mean the figures.
Yeah.
Because we had a special below wholesale package on that. And what happened was Woodland Scenics ran out.
I'm sure they come from China.
I'm sure they don't. I think they come from like Bali or someplace where they
Okay.
hand make these things. And they contacted us today, and we had something come in on our internet, believe it or not, that shows that indeed the final details are on the way. They should be here. Today is Tuesday now. By the end of the week, they should be here. Lenny, how were the kits at this point? How close are we to? We sent 25 of them, I think, in this past week.
Actually,
right?
at this point, I think we've sent 30-something, 30,
Okay.
32. As soon as we get those other figures in, the rest of them will go out. Literally, that's all we're waiting on. Just those figures.
So if you're waiting for Cigar Corner, now you know why you're waiting. There was a lot of late orders, and we honored every single one of them. We don't inflate the prices, and we hope that these things never show up on eBay at some super collectible price. It's not really what I wanted to do when we started Bar Mill Scale Models back in 2021 years ago. And you walked through the door when we had the railroad station, although we met before that.
I think 2006 or 7, right in there.
I was giving a clinic, and you were in the clinic, right?
Yep, that was the first time. Yep.
Right, and Jack has come so far since those beginning days of modeling.
I graded his clinic. It wasn't much though. Very low numbers.
Okay. Anyhow,
I still have the billboard.
It was a billboard. We were doing billboards, and we made a special billboard for the Northeastern Convention in those days.
Portland.
In Portland, I almost said Oregon, in Portland, Maine here. And that's the first time Jack and I got together, and then he showed up all of a sudden out of nowhere in the railroad station. I had no idea who he was.
Not quite, but that's all right.
Well, that's his story.
You showed up at the North Conway Railroad, and you were looking for a casting. And I said, I got that casting home. I'll bring it over sometime. So that's basically how it happened.
Yeah, Jack was the president of something in North Conway. In case you don't know, if you haven't been up to New Hampshire, North Conway is where the Conway Scenic Railroad is. It's also a place where one of the buildings is offered, right, to a club,
The
right?
freight house, one of the end of the freight house, the railroad's been there for now probably 40-something years. So they've been there a while, and they open to the public in the summertime. So.
But it's hard. It's hard because the limited hours on this thing. I've been there before, and they've got all kinds of equipment parked outside. So this season is coming. You know, the masks, whatever you want to do with them, you don't have to use them in the car. So just come on up to North Conway. Stop by Bar Mills. We're about an hour and 20 minutes out of that area, and you can visit us, and you can visit North Conway, and you can visit the Railroad Club at North Conway. And I think we all need a good road trip right around now. So
Yeah, they were open last summer. They just limit the number of people in at one time, so you can kind of wander around the yard and then come in when the people, as they dissipate, you can go in and see it. And it's free. They take donations, that's all, but it's free. You come in and see it. They have trains running constantly. So typically it's a Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. That's typically what it is.
it's hard because I show up there and sometimes nobody's there. But I figure it's me because I don't plan those visits. Anyhow, with Stewart's Rods. We're going to be actually in production on probably Monday because we do have to shake loose of these other cigar corner kits. And it's all set to be manufactured. The instructions are done, which is a big thing. I got to thank Jim Mooney, our engineer, for all the work he did on this one. And the kit actually comes with two different facades, kind of, Jack. One is the dormer and one is a cupola on top.
Right.
So you can build it in a couple different ways. What I am going to do quickly here is, and if Lenny can follow me on the camera, I'm just going to turn this around a little bit, just pivot it around, so you see what you get. Now, we mentioned a special deal, and we're going to be doing for the first 50 buyers of this. And Lenny, is this on the website right now, right?
I don't believe it is on the website.
But we have a coupon.
Oh, we do have a coupon code. Yes, the coupon code is on the website.
The coupon code's on the website, but how can they buy this on the website?
Currently, I don't believe we have put this on the website.
So
yet.
we have the coupon code. That's
Tomorrow
nice.
we'll get that up on the website.
We'll put this on the website. And what's the coupon? Oh, just so you know, the coupon code. This kit is, I think, what money did we decide upon on this? This is a complex kit. Did we come up with the price?
I don't believe we have, and I believe that's why it's not on the website.
All right, because this is a combination, Jack, of what? Jack built the prototype on this, and it's a combination of clapboard.
There's clapboard, brick, board and batten, and tar paper.
So
and
you have,
shingle roof.
so you have all the major food groups
Yeah,
here.
yeah, and tar paper roof. So you got and corrugated roof. So you got a little bit of everything to try your luck at, see how you can do with it.
And complexity on a scale of beginner, intermediate, advanced, super advanced. Where would you
There's
put it?
nothing really complex. It's basically straight, regular construction. I mean, it's bracing in the corners and corner boards and things like that. So it's basically straightforward construction. And there's nothing intricate. There's nothing small. It's all good size. So it works out pretty good.
Well, fortunately, I just stepped out of frame there. Fortunately, we're in the Bar Mills wood shop over here. And these are really kind of fancy rulers made by a company called Woodpeppers. Anybody who's a woodworker out there must know something about this company. They're very accurate. And people are always asking, how big are these things? Now, I generally give them, Jack, I like to give them the diorama size because the dioramas, to me, is very much part of it, especially since we have so many details included with the kits. But in this case, this ruler here, let me just find where number one is. We used a piece of gator foam here, which is available from Dave Myers in Vermont, okay? 8.5 inches wide and, 8.25 deep, so pretty much an 8.5 by 8.5.
That's a diorama.
That's the diorama, which was set up diagonally, just so you understand how this works. But the structure itself, if you had this structure and you wanted to jam it up against a wall or something, you'd be talking about 6 inches wide by about 4 inches deep, which is normal for us. That tends to be the typical footprint of a structure for us because we really design structures more for the model railroader than strictly for the diorama builder. And how many wonderful structures are out there, but we don't always have space for them on the last. Anyhow, we have a special coupon code. Wendy, do you have it there, sir?
Yep. Let me see here. Let's see here. That coupon code is, let me see if I can find it. There it is. There's the coupon code. SRWS50. Now, one thing to remember is once the kit goes live on the website, this will be for the first 50 orders only. Once those 50 orders are gone, the coupon code disappears, and honestly, you'll know because this system won't allow you to do it. But that there on your screen is the coupon code. Again, that's SRWS50.
Now we could give you a coupon code that would save you $7.50 shipping, or we could go overboard and use our buying power to incorporate what we get good deals on and are able to turn that $7.50 into much more by putting a $20 set of Woodland Scenics figures in it, and that's what we do typically. Personally, I'd rather have $20 worth of figures and pay $7.50 in shipping, Jack.
Yeah.
And that's part. You know, we look at the figures. You know, they're part of the scene. You may say that's a female or a male or a truck or a milk can, whatever it is, but they're all textures, they're all colors, and that really is, to me. I mean, how do figures rate with you, Jack?
Well, figures put some movement into the scene. You actually, when you put people in it, where I imagine that if he looks like the guy is walking, it looks like he's moving. So it adds the human touch, it adds scale, and it adds life to the scenes.
You know, I when I was younger, way before we started Bar Mills, there was one manufacturer that I'd see the work by this company, and I was always really impressed with it. And I realized that so much of what I was seeing in the photos did not come with the kit. And in this case, this was a manufacturer that kind of leaned towards urban buildings. Mm-hmm. So urban buildings tend to have a lot more figures and vehicles than anything else. And it was disappointing because I would spend maybe $40 or $50 on a building, and this was back in 1990. And it would cost me twice that to set up the scene like the manufacturer did, because none of that stuff was included. Mm-hmm. So I always felt, wouldn't it be great to be able to do something that you really have something inclusive? You know, it's been a long time since any of us have been on vacation, but I think going to a place that is inclusive, where you have your meals and your drinks if you happen to be a drinker, all included, is just so much nicer than having to go out and piecemeal all these little details.
Much easier.
Much easier. Anyhow, so that is what's going on with the Stewart's Rods kit, and we're going to be working on it next week. We will be taking orders using the coupon code if you choose to use that, and it will take probably 2 to 3 weeks before actually shipping the kit. Maybe sooner, but we do have to order the proper figures and all. Now we're going to introduce something else here tonight, Jack, and I'm going to move this out of the way. This being the Stewart's Rods. And I have a piece of wood here, and I see greeting from Leeds, Maine, Bob Gambella. He's a regular customer of ours as well. I want to show you these. Now, I don't know if you can see these really well, but these are O-scale versions of all brand new chimneys that we've mastered, and these are actually the resin versions. So this is not off of a 3D printer. That's actually the quality you'll get, and they are all new O-scale designs that we will be offering. So if you're an O-scale, this may not be a new kit, but it certainly is something you can look forward to. And we have a total of 7 of them here. That in addition to our regular O-scale line. Very easy to paint, very easy to make look terrific. And Lenny, have you put up the photo on that? Because we have a photo on that you can put on the screen.
The photo of, I'm sorry.
Of the O-scale selection?
Oh, absolutely. Let me
give you a better close-up look at what we're looking at here.
Okay, right now on the screen is the O-scale version.
Okay, so you have a better idea of what you're looking at. We have not assigned catalog numbers to this. What do you have, Jack?
I'm just saying that if you've been looking at the HO scale ones and kind of saying, well, why aren't they in O scale? Well, these are basically the ones that we've done in HO, and we've brought them up now for O scale for you guys that are all in O scale.
Right, so if you've seen these in HO, and if you haven't seen them in HO, these are available in HO, which is a good point. I forgot all about that. But we're going to shift gears once again. I'm going to put some different ones right here up on our little staging platform here.
Some newer HO stuff.
This is really unusual because Jack, when you saw this, you kind of raised an eyebrow. It's like, well, that's different, and it is different. What we've come out with is a series, yet more of a series of chimneys because the details on the roof are so very important. You wouldn't want to use just one kind of shingle. It just gives it away. Anyhow, these are very tall chimneys with different fittings up on the top. And the idea here is they're tall so they can run next to a building, alongside of a building, but could also be chopped down and even angled. So if you have a roof angle or something, you can work this into your scene. As a matter of fact, Jack, you have something right there. You want to slide this over here?
You can see on the firehouse we've used one of the tall ones with a fitting on the top, and
that one there's a slightly different variation
Yeah.
on this one here. If I can hold this up, I don't know if you can see that. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. This is yet another version of this, and of course you don't have to worry about the roof angle because you had so much length of the chimney that if it was a steeper pitch, it wasn't an issue where you ran out of chimney, right?
actually all the chimneys we put in have square bottoms. What we've done is create a little flap the size of the chimney that folds in, and the chimney just sits on top of that flap.
And
you don't have to worry about that matching that angle.
And the other thing is we've gotten away from white metal chimneys. Two reasons. Number one, the quality, and I think you all know this, the quality on this stuff is really amazing. And number two, it's so easy. If you have a Zona saw,
Cut them down.
you cut them right down, and you could just introduce any angle you want. And because they're so long, you have a lot of latitude in your size of these things. Now, the other three, these are three different ones, and what makes them different is not the length. It's simply the tops of the details on the top of the chimney. Now we've done something else, and these were kind of difficult to make, Jack, because casting wise.
I would like to know how he got those out of the molds. But
Well, when we make these things, these were originally 3D printed, and now just so as you understand, we do our own 3D prototyping these days. Jim Mooney does this, and he nobody's better. These are interesting because the approach to these are different, and these are for HO. They may come out. You may see these coming out in O scale as well, but they are delicate. And I don't know if you can see these. Lenny, do you happen to have the HO photo that I took, the close up on
we
the
can
screen?
certainly bring it up.
Okay.
Let's see here. Okay, there is the HO photo, as you can see on the middle of the screen.
They basically have a stub of a brick chimney coming out of the bottom, and then a big long extension of a stack pipe coming out the top with some kind of a funnel top on the top of them.
But what are the possibilities on this as opposed to the longer version, which is obviously very solid? It's masonry. It's you'd hurt yourself if you bumped into one of those. But these here are more fragile, even in real life. So what's the deal with this? What can we do with this that we can't do with the other ones as far as detailing goes? Now you kind of wondering what I'm referring to, but I see these chimneys as a perfect excuse to use guide wires.
You can use guide wires, yep.
And guide wires are something that when you add guide wires, which are typically, what do you use for a guide wire, Jack?
I use it's called lamp wire.
Lamp wire. How's that?
If you have a lamp, if you've seen that lamp wire that they use, it's got two conductors. It's that brown wire. If you cut that, it's a stranded wire, and all you got to do is pull out one strand. It's a very short piece of wire, and man, that stuff works great. It'll hold its shape. It glues up. It paints. You're fine with it.
Now, are you talking about this stuff that would have been in older lamps where I remember stripping it back? 1 foot of that stuff would give you enough.
Yeah. If you get a small piece about this big off a lamp somewhere, if you have an old lamp and you throw it out, cut the cord off it, and just take that piece and just pull the strands out as you use them. They can be guide wires, they can be cables, they can be for a lot of things.
They can be laundry lines.
Yeah, laundry lines, anything.
Laundry lines are a good one too.
Yeah.
And
matter of fact, I think even on the pole on the flag, that's what that wire is. That's the rope that pulls the flag up.
Same
thing.
And so that would be on yet another kit we're going to talk about next. Now, if you've painted this, you prime them up, then you paint them. I know I like painting the brick with orange, and then hitting it with a wash of weathering solution. I typically use, by the way, Rick Hunter will be with us tonight from Hunter Line, and that's what I've been using. I've gotten away from alcohol and India ink.
We'll go over them. I'll go over them quick later on because that's another detail. Just how we do it, really relatively simple. I usually do multiples at one time instead of one at a time.
But the trick to this, and I've started using your approach, is using, this is a tongue depressor, correct?
Tongue depressor, yeah.
And you use
tacky glue.
Tacky glue, and you paint everything just as you see it right there, right?
The nice thing is I can hold it here, I can turn it this way, I can actually prime it and hold it and prime it. I prime them all with the gray, especially if they have metal on them. I'll use a gray primer, and then that gives me a nice tooth for I can use my acrylic paints from then on, and it will stick to the resin. So it makes it real simple.
Now that's one of the newer HO chimneys that we just
Yep,
did.
that is.
And these are resin, correct?
Yeah, those are resin.
Well, you can see the detail on those.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to move along. Let's see who we have here. Jim Dustin, hello from Iowa. Hi, Jim. Rusty Robot.
Yeah, hey, Rusty.
Remember old Rusty Robot? He won a lot of He won a few things when we did the Springfield Live.
I've
John,
seen his stuff on the forums. He's an excellent modeler.
He is. Well, don't
Very
say
good
in front of him. For
No,
God's
he
sake.
does a good job. Really nice stuff.
And is Stuart Rods going to be offered an O scale? No. You know, the one that we've been putting off for a while, and it's my own fault. I have to tell you, I've fallen into a little bit of a malaise. This COVID thing has kept us so busy for the last year and a half. We've been so very busy, and we don't want it to slow us down. But I think it's finally getting to me a little bit. The next O scale kit is going to be the downtown garage, which Frank Bernard, hey Frank, I know you're out there, buddy, is going to do for us an O scale. As a matter of fact, he did the HO scale version for the cigar corner kit. So he's awaiting the cut parts that fit properly for the for the downtown garage show. That's our next kit in O scale for you O scalers, okay? And here again, don't forget those new line of chimneys we're coming out with as well. John says thank you for the O scale chimneys. You're very welcome, John.
Buy a pack of them, put them on the shelf. I'll guarantee eventually you're going to use them they're going to add a lot to your buildings.
Rusty Robot says, you're so kind, Jack.
I just saw it. It looked very good. It was very interesting.
All right. We have Tim and Donna from Vancouver, Washington, and limping through models with Nate.
Limping through models with Nate.
You know, maybe
Is
that's
that a book?
It's called. It's like the 5 people you meet in heaven. Limping through models with Nate. Wait, I got to get. We can do that. Okay. By the way, I do have a sad announcement for those of you who live in the Northeast. One of my very good friends and a guy who's done so much with the hobby, a fellow named Brian Curry from Syracuse, just outside of Syracuse, has passed away. And I didn't want to mention for anyone who knows Brian Curry, he's an N scaler, but don't hold that against him. But he not only modeled N scale, but he modeled N and 3.
He also modeled some stuff in S.
He was an amazing modeler.
The ferry on the SN2 layout is Brian's.
He's done some models. As a matter of fact, he wanted to make sure I had some of his models for our own Niagara and Pearl Creek Railroad some years back. And sadly, he passed away. Today is Tuesday. I think it was early Monday morning up in Syracuse. So Brian Curry, for anybody who knows him out there, he didn't get out much. He was a guy who spent all of his life really doing models, and he was amazing. So just a little memorial remembrance for Brian. I could not go through this broadcast without saying something about Brian. Okay, Wayne Hatcher's working on the Doverton Wharf after all these years.
That's a fun one.
Great.
I've got a question over from Facebook before we go to our first guest. Let's see here. Bruce Fielder asks, any update on the chimney assortment packs? Last word was waiting on packaging. If I'm not mistaken, those are on the website now with the photos and...
Well, no, but not the assortments. He's right. We were going to give a 20% discount.
Okay.
And we were going to basically take the chimneys and HO scale, by the way, which are the originals for these new O scale ones that we're introducing, are packaged 3 to a package. I think we have 8 different chimneys.
Yes.
Right?
Correct. Yes.
And what we were going to do is do 2 to a package and give you a 20% discount. And this is not something that would be available through dealers because we do have an offshoot of the company called Bar Mills Direct. With Bar Mills Direct, because you're buying directly from us and there's no middleman discount, a lot of times we can save you some money. We cannot compete with our dealers, we never do, but on this level it's a little bit different because the prices are the same, but the packaging and the what you get included in a kit is enhanced. It's an enhanced version of what you'd be able to buy through say Walder's, for instance, okay? And you're right, we haven't done that, and I've been bad. I've been lazy, and I have to admit it, I'm starting to wear out a little bit. I'm looking forward to the summer. Hopefully a very maskless summer this year. Okay, so that's your answer to that. Anything else from on Facebook?
Just a couple more comments real quick. Jerry wants to know, come on, don't leave the S-scalers out.
Boy, I'll tell you what, there's not much we can do in S-scale these days. There's so little demand for it. I'm a little surprised that we're even still making the S-scale kits that we developed years ago.
And Stephen, I agree with him. Well, you know, we've done a lot. Stephen from California says we need more N scale, please. We've come out with quite a few N scale structures as of late, which is
he's not wrong, because we've been talking about doing an N scale structure, but the cigar corner kit, and we're already working on next year's kit, Jack. I've been looking and researching, and Jim Mooney's already kicked me around a couple of times that
Good.
he doesn't like something, which generally means it's perfect. So we have to work with Jim on this. But I have an idea for next year's kit, which we haven't discussed yet, and I've asked you to look into it, and I don't know if you've had time. It seems early, but it takes a long time to develop these kits. So here we are. Cigar Corner has not left the building, like Elvis. And in this case, we are going to wind it up this week, get on to the Stewart's rods, get on to this, because we do have a lot of people that are, we have Clark Cooning is our first guest, and I know he's waiting to go on. This is the new Smoky Hill Fire Department, which we've mentioned in the past, and this will be our next hot topic. Here again, it's an HO scale. And this is not actually right, because we've enhanced this kit since Jack built the prototype, where we will have a hose tower, right?
Hose tower, yep.
And this one does not have a bell.
I just got to figure out how to put the hose tower on this where it looks right. So they've designed it as a separate piece to go on it, and I think we'll have to figure out where it goes.
Another sneak preview, and this is way in the future, so don't get too excited. Now, this is a kit that Jack mentioned we should do maybe an O scale as well as HO scale. You want to pull it out from underneath? This is not done yet. So,
I'm still working on it.
Right. The signs aren't on. This is called what?
This is going to be Lenny's Truck Service.
Lenny's Truck Service. So
after 20 years,
Yeah,
it's about time.
I went through all the names and I said, Lenny doesn't have anything named after him. So I figured we better do something pretty quick or we're going to be in trouble.
But this kit is kind of unique because of the sidings, you might say, the walls.
Yeah, this one is the main building is board and batten, but the little addition on the front, which is the office, is brick. So now that we've finally get into this brick stuff that we really like, we can make up these brick pieces relatively easy, and they go together very, very easily, and they go nice. And Jim has created this, what he calls the zipper for the corners.
Pretty amazing.
That show absolutely, it looks like the bricks go right around the corner. He's got it done really nice. It goes together real easy, no problem. Anybody that's doing cigar corner is going to put two buildings together with those zippers, which is really, really kind of cool.
Can you tell me a little bit about the truck? Lenny, can we see the truck in one of
We're
those
looking
shots?
right at it.
The truck is unfortunately scratch built.
Well, you know, people are going to ask. So let's.
The truck is scratch built.
Full disclosure.
The front was an old casting that I cut down and did it, and then built the back boom out of. Actually, it's made out of styrene and cardboard. So and then it's just junk in the back.
And you know, I see a hook, a tow hook. I don't know if it's broken loose or
No,
it's
no,
there.
it's broken. It's not finished yet.
It's not finished. And that is a piece of wire from the zip cord that we just spoke
Same
about.
wire,
I can see it. It
Same
hasn't been painted yet, but that zip cord wire really takes paint well, though. Too.
It's not bad.
You don't even have to prime it. You can just
It's the same wire they use in windings for small motors and things like that. So they use an enamel on it, but it'll come with the fence. Probably not all of the castings, but a good number of the castings. I've got castings around the back and everything else, but we probably might not put that many on, but because you're upwards of 20, 25 castings on it. But it'll come with a skylight. It will have a gas pump in the front, which I'm doing now. I'm painting the gas pump up. You can see we're painting the gas pump on to go to the front, and then I'll put all my signs on it, and that one will be done.
So that's what's coming up. That'll be later this summer. So let's not.
That's in line.
Right, that's in line. And this one, you know, I know we have O scales. If you have any input on this, let us know.
See the back. The back has got detail too, so you don't have to worry about it being up against something. You can put it out in the middle too. It's basically a 2-bay truck repair station. So,
You okay, Jack?
No.
Yeah. All right. Look, right now we were running a little bit behind because
I still got the shakes.
You got the shakes. Oh, yeah, we were taking some shakes off the building today. Okay, bad joke, Jack. We're gonna give Jack a minute to set up. What's your clinic on
I
tonight,
thought you were
Jack?
going to introduce and talk to somebody.
I am, but what's your clinic? Why don't you
On
tell every-
adding details to your models. You don't. You can add stuff to the model. It comes out of the box great, and it's got lots of stuff. But you can always add stuff and make it your own. So I'm going to bring up my model that I've got here, and I got some things to talk about how to add on. So this is a model of Tilex that I've done, but added a lot of things and pieces to it, and we'll show you what we've done with it.
If you have any questions, the whole idea of this live format is that we can exchange ideas and so on. I have Marilyn Downing. Hi guys. Hi guys. Was that Chuck? No, unless you know who Chuck. Who is the guy in New York? You don't know. You weren't from New York. The guy used to do the Terry Toon the show old Laurel and Hardy movies. Chuck somebody. Somebody out there knows who I'm talking about.
Up, Chuck?
Not up, Chuck. No. Jim Dustin from Iowa. Is there any chance Stuart rods will be done in N scale? We need something in N scale, and boy, I'll tell you what, that could be a little delicate for N scale. It would be interesting.
It's going to be like Wicked Wanda's in N scale.
Oh, geez, yeah. Look like a little Christmas tree ornament. Okay, well, I'm
Say,
going.
what's this guy's name? Can we have him call Jim and tell him we want it? In O
Yeah,
scale?
so
Because
hello-
I don't want to tell him.
Hello, Jim.
Can you do it, that one in O scale? Because
But obviously, Stuart's Rods is a name we totally made up. Nobody has any name close to Stuart's Rod. Anyhow, to get along with that, I have these plugs tonight because we had a bomb. If you were here last time, we had a bomb. This was like, I'm surprised that, if Trump was president, I'm telling you, he would have just taken over Bar Mills to straighten us out right then and there. This time around, this year I almost said, this time around I have these little $2 head earplugs, and we're going to be speaking to Clark Kooning. Clark is an amazing modeler. He is a narrow gauge guy. He's a former vice president of the NMRA. He's a master model railroader.
he was one of the group that formed the modeling with masters.
Is that right?
Yes, which would take regular modelers. They would come in. They'd have 2 or 3 master modelers to oversee the room, and they would do a hands-on clinic. And it was a great one because I took one of them. It was very fun.
Did you do any good?
Did I do any good?
Did you do any good?
Yeah, I had a lot of people use my stuff.
All right, so we have two interviews coming up. Clark Kooning is the first one, and we're waiting for him to. We're going to Skype, try to get on board with him, and then we have Rick Hunter from Hunterline, who makes the incredible weathering solutions that we all do. Here again, keep the questions coming, and I'm going to put these on because what we don't want is to get feedback through the system here. Lenny is kind of going to engineer this. How do we look, Len?
We are looking at Clark.
No kidding. Wow.
Hi, Clark.
How are you, gang?
Hey, Clark, good to hear from you, sir. How's things up there? Clark is a Canadian, folks, by the way. You'll have to forgive him for that. And he's a fisherman, a well-known fisherman up in Canada. How are things going up there, sir?
You know what? It's we had a beautiful day up here. All the snow is gone. For those who just a little reference where I live, it's about a 6-hour drive north of Toronto, and I'm about 2.5 hours. What's that?
Jack says you look almost lifelike.
Oh, thank you. And I'm about 2.5 hours northeast of Sioux, Michigan, and or the Algoma Central in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. So that's just a little reference point.
Well, Clark, you sent me a lot of questions which I forgot in the shop. So why don't you tell us what are you actively into? I know you're in SN2, is it?
Well, I was in SN3 when I lived in the Toronto area, and I had quite a large layout. But when I moved up here, all the modelers up here were basically HO guys, so I kind of turned and went to standard HO. And I have a room that's about 14 by 28, which I'm currently building a modern HO layout.
Now, I'm going to guess, knowing you, that you're handling your own track because, in case you don't know Clark, you haven't met him possibly at the Bar Mills booth because he gives clinics for us. But he also is very, very tight with Tim Morris. Tim, in case you don't know it, is the owner of Fast Tracks, and Clark has also helped out even another Canadian, believe it or not, and has become a Fast Tracks aficionado of sorts.
Yeah, Tim and I have been friends before he even started the business. It depends on who you listen to, how the business got started. And I've been doing most of the demos at a lot of the shows. If Tim's has a booth there, then I work with him. And then at Springfield, if he doesn't have a booth, I come and work with you guys. And I've been pretty lucky to get invited into some really fantastic modelers. For those who are listening, Art really knows a lot of guys, and these guys are fantastic modelers. And to be invited into that group is I really appreciate it. But guys like Jack Ellis, who gives fantastic tips. We really have a good time in Springfield, and we talk to new customers, to old customers, and you can learn from Jack. So when you got some time, watch Jack's Corner, because it is always terrific.
Well, I want to bring this up is the fact of it is we could certainly use more input from the guys watching. I'm sure many of you are involved in some form of expanding your layout or possibly starting a layout. I know many of us are diorama builders, but it comes a time that even on the diorama, it's not a bad idea to add track. I do have a question from Dave, by the way. It says, did Clark stay in Elliott Lake all winter? That's a question, Clark.
Yes, I stay here all winter. That's the modeling season. Um, Now I do have a snowmobile, and I'm out ice fishing once in a while, but it's got to be a nice day. Generally, I'm in the basement working on the railroad, and then once the good weather comes, I'm out on the boat fishing.
Well, when it comes to building structures, do you find it's more advantageous at this point as a master builder? And I know you are. It's not just a title with you. You're so avidly involved with the hobby. Do you find it's much easier to build from a kit, or to scratch build, or just to simply kit bash? What's your approach these days for the most part?
Lately I have been building more kits than I have been scratch building, um, and from a variety of manufacturers. But one of the things that struck me, and when I first met you, I had built a couple of your kits, and that's been a number of years ago. And I always enjoy saying this. I'm a customer. I could say it's crap, but it's not. He puts out a fantastic product with excellent instructions, and the character of the structures, even on a modern layout, fit in. I really enjoy doing structures. Now, sometimes I will take two structures, because I'll take two small ones and kind of mold them together to give me a little different structure. But I really enjoy building kits lately, and up here it also is an advantage. There's the closest hobby shop is about a 6.5 hour drive, and now yes, you can order online, but it's a lot easier just to have a kit and have everything in it.
Have you found a big difference in delivery schedules since this COVID thing has kind of hit us? I know in Canada it seems to take so long. You would think that you were in Europe instead of sharing a border with the U.S. It seems to take a long time
Well,
from our perspective. How do you see it as a Canadian?
yeah, it's about an extra 7 to 8 days. So where we would get items from the U.S. in about 10 days, it's now taken almost 2 weeks, sometimes almost three, depending on the situation. I know the Canadian storage system, as we call it, or Canada Post, um, they they have been doing COVID operations, and they don't have as much staff on either. So I can't blame them. In the postal service, they would work fairly close to each other, so they're trying to staff, and I don't blame them. So you have to wait an extra week, and it gives you more time to order another kit.
All right, I see here that Rusty Robot says you can't hear me as well as you should. I don't know why that is, because I'm practically yelling here. But I'll try. Clark, you may actually be able to hear me without the internet at this point. Just open up your window. Hello, Clark. Are you there, Clark? It may be the only way to get.
My wife says some loud guy's yelling outside.
Well, that's your yeah, okay. Let me ask you, with your involvement with Fast Tracks, have you run into a lot of activity in that segment of the hobby? And I'm surprised, honestly, before you even answer that we haven't had more questions about Fast Tracks. Maybe you should also talk a little bit about the company. An incredible company doing something very unique that has definitely helped move the hobby a couple notches.
When I first met Tim and he had this idea, I was building in this SN3 layout, as you mentioned earlier, and I said, hey, I'd love a fixture to build an SN3. So he built me one, and he brought her over, and I said, this thing is fantastic. You got to sell them. And he said, who's going to buy them? I said, you don't worry about that. I'll sell them. You make them. And that was sort of the start of it. Now there was other people in it, and Tim had certainly thought about it ahead of time. It wasn't quite that simple. But Tim's tools and fixtures are just fantastic. And I know he's extremely busy with Fast Tracks, and he also owns Mount Albert Scale Lumber, as you know. And he's extremely busy but he's on top of the orders. I know that there's not too long of a wait. And one of the big reasons is with everybody jumping into the hobby, there's been a lot of new people. If you look at the forums, I'm new. I'm starting off of this. I can't get track. Apparently, the people in Pico cannot keep up with the demand for track, even in Europe. So by building your own turnouts and track, you can eliminate all that. All you need is rail. And you can buy that from Tim or from Micro Engineering out of the St. Louis area. It's really been a huge boon, this COVID, because people are not, and I don't know about in the States as much as it is here, but boy, if you want to see what $1 million looks like, watch a lumber truck go down the street.
Yeah,
because the
cost of Clark, we're speaking
go
on
ahead,
each other here. I don't know who's okay. I was going to say, the first time I saw hand-laid track and I was knocked over by it was from Tony Custer on his Allegheny in Midland. Tony lives in New Jersey. He's well known, and of course, this is pre-Fast Tracks, and it was just amazing to look at.
Yes, yeah. I belong to a group with a bunch of guys, or I was active in a group in the Toronto area called the Maple Leaf Mafia, and they're an ON3 group primarily, but they're generally narrow gauge guys. And these guys all hand build track. And at first, when they looked at the Fast Track, they said, well, I can build it in place or whatever. But most of them all now have it, because you can build a turnout and repeat the process just over and over again. And, the initial cost of all the tools, it can be a little pricey at first. But if you are building, or if you have to buy 10 turnouts, you've already paid for the tools. So, and just raw materials, the stuff that you're the reusables, you can build turnouts very inexpensively. And I'm a little biased, but there is no better turnout than a Fast Tracks turnout compared to any commercial turnout you can, even if you're not a great solderer or understand how a turnout works. After about the first 4 or 5, when you practice, you're going to have a fantastic turnout. And, anytime Bar Mills or Fast Track shows up at a show, we always have a good turnout.
Yeah, no, Clark, I'm gonna say goodbye to you here, because Rick Hunter is someone we have to get in touch with, and we're going to Skype with him. Of course, Rick, a fellow Canadian.
Yeah, Rick used to live about 45 miles away from me at that, and I hardly ever saw him until I went to a show, and usually in the States.
I hear you. So Clark, I'm going to have Lenny sign out on you right now, and then when he has Rick on the line, we will continue this Monday night, first Monday, with Rick Hunter from Hunterline Models.
Good to see you, Clark.
Okay, are we still live here, Len?
We are live. I'm bringing Rick up right now. We're giving him a ring. You might want to put those in.
I wonder if we should move a microphone here.
No. It's just when we bring in someone else, the system compensates so
Okay.
that the volumes are. It tries to make them level. So I've adjusted it enough. So let me see here. Let's bring him in. Right here. Let's see here. I'm looking at him. I want to make it so that you can look at him. Let's see here. All right. Everybody say hi to Rick and his wife.
And his wife.
Yeah. There's the modeler right there.
Is he on board?
Yes, we have Rick.
Ah, they are.
Oh, there they are. Finger deep, no doubt, in some kind of a magic elixir that makes everything. Look how well he's weathered. My goodness. Well, welcome, Rick Hunter, and Maureen. Is it?
Yes, Maureen. Yeah. Hi.
Hi,
Welcome
everyone.
to Bar Mills, and as you may not know, folks, Rick owns Hunterline. Not scale models, but something close. Hunterline model kits, craftsman kits.
Actually, it's just Hunterline, and we manufacture Craftsman kits in all the scales.
And your primary situation is with, as I know it, because we've endorsed your company in the past because it's an amazing product. Are your weathering? I'm not going to say weathering powders. That would be more us than you. But your weathering washes and mixes, as well as your line of timber trestles, right?
Weathering mix. It's weathering mix is the proper name for it. And yeah, mostly we do bridges, right from little tiny bridges right up to big truss bridges.
And how have you been up there in Canada? Have you found this COVID thing to keep you very busy one way or the other?
I don't know. We haven't been out of the house for a year and a half.
Oh.
The last show we did was actually last February.
And what do you see coming up to? What do you see the future of your getting out and being able to show your product again?
Well, we're booked in at the National Narrow Gauge in the early part of September, but the big issue is the Canadian-U.S. border is still closed, and the last word that we got is it's going to be closed until August or September, and that's going to make it difficult. We're not an essential product, so they don't want us to go across.
Now, let me ask you, you're a staple as far as Bar Mills goes. As a matter of fact, we worked on a promotion in a kit maybe 3 years ago where we included a custom-sized, smaller bottle of your product with the Bar Mills kit. Frankly, we would never include anything that didn't work really well. We're fussy about who we represent and who we are willing to endorse, and you obviously get our full endorsement. Have you come up with anything as of recently in addition to your weathering mixes and your standard line of trestles?
Okay, in the kit line, we're got some new stuff on the drawing board, and we hope to have them out by the summer. The weathering mix, it's always an issue. What color? Okay, I'll give the example that last March under COVID, we're sitting there. Okay, what colors can we make now? And it happened to be St. Patty's Day, so we made a whole mess of different greens. So when you see all our greens on there, they were all made last March.
Well, let me ask you: do you find that colors go in trends? Like everybody in the summer wants a different color than, say, in the middle of the winter. Do you see any kind of a herd mentality going from one kind of shade of color to another? Is that possible?
I don't think I've ever really noticed that. Thinking about the seasons, no. I mean, a lot of our bridges are, basically people are using all the browns and the grays and the blue grays to make it look really, really weathered. I mean, we've got 45 colors right now, and I mean, most of them are browns, blacks, grays. We've got a lot of different reds, some of the greens and yellow, all of the earth colors. But I haven't really noticed a trend. Have you, Rick? I don't.
Oh, not really.
Yeah.
It's kind of unseasonal.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this: when you're using your colors, have you picked up any tips from other modelers that have used your product and possibly used it differently to create yet different effects than maybe you saw coming?
Yeah, we one of the big products that we use to complement, that we don't use but other people do, is pan pastels. We've had a couple dealers that actually promote using pan pastel as a base color, and then ours as the highlight colors, and the other way around, using ours as the base color and pan pastels as the highlight colors.
Well, it was actually customers who came back to us. I mean, we initially had developed the weathering mix to stain wood, and it was our customers who came back to us and said, this really works well on plastics. So we started investigating that and trying it out on different plastic buildings and boxcars and that sort of thing. Then it really does work on the plastics. It seems to take that coating off the plastic, and it adheres quite well, actually. And then on further investigation, we tried it on rocks and foams, different foams, and it seems to really work well on all those different mediums. We've even got someone who uses it on canvas as her oil paintings. And what else? I think.
Well, hydrocal is a good one.
Yeah.
And we like people to use it on hydrocal because it really sucks it in, so they have to buy 2 bottles instead of 1.
Well, I have to tell you, I use it on. I like using American Art Clay Sculptamold. I love that stuff. Takes a few days to dry. But I use it, and I use your stains on there as a base coat, and I work up from the stain. By the way, we have a Kurt Steinacker wrote here that the Hunterline weathering stains are the best out there, worth every penny. So you have a fan out here, Rick, with this.
Actually, we have a lot of fans.
That's great.
One of the big things we've overcome over the winter, like we did not have any alcohol from March to October last year because all the alcohol was being used for hand sanitizers, so we could not get it no matter what. We found it on eBay for $48 a liter, which is way out of the question. So actually in our research, we found a company that's like 10 miles from our place, and they make hand sanitizers, so they have all this alcohol available. So we have an endless supply now. It's a lot more expensive than what we were doing before, but through COVID, I guess we have to live with that.
Well, I see here Peter Berg. Now this is interesting. He writes on here, I have marigold yellow, but I'm not sure what I will use it on, and I want to interject something. Now I use pan pastels as well as Hunterline product, of course. And one of the great unsung colors for me, and a little secret in pan pastels, is I like to use yellow, especially a light dusting of yellow on concrete surfaces to give it color. In this case, we're talking about a marigold yellow wash or mix, weathering mix. Rick, any suggestions as to what Peter should do with his marigold yellow?
That's a good building color. I mean, a faded yellow is not a problem with a building. If you got a good contrasting color, that yellow would be great.
Like we if you ever see us at a show, like we do all the national shows from coast to coast, when we can go to shows. We always have very static displays of all our kits. And one of the things we're trying out is that we actually are making dioramas now that actually run. And the first one we're doing is our N scale one. And it's a process. Maureen's never built a layout before, so this is her first go at it. But we're using all the foams because it needs to be light and strong. And she's really getting into making rocks and ground cover and all those neat things that make it come to life.
Trying to use our stains, of course.
And it's our stains, of course. And
well,
yellow.
Let me ask you, what do you see as the future of Hunterline as far as your product or as far as your, let's say, your customer acquisition at this point? Do you see many new people coming in? Are you finding more people willing to experiment with different approaches to doing weathering, whether it's a building or a boxcar or whatever? Do you have any expectations as far as where this is all going for you?
Well, I think the industry as a whole is becoming more sophisticated. There are more. Yeah, they like the craftsman end of it, but it has to be a particular quality. Okay, and yeah, sure, there's the shake the box and ready to run stuff, but there's a lot of people out there that want to do it right from the beginning. And that's great because our kits are actually holding the line all through COVID. They're still going on strong, even though we're not at shows. The weathering mix, we're always, what's a new color? What can we do for a new color? Like we listen to our customers. We had a dealer back about 3-4 years ago. He was going to the West Side Lumber, whatever you call it, that. When they all get back together,
Reunion.
A reunion, yes, thank you. And he said, "Can you make a color that's like West Side Lumber?" And we said, "Well, sure, send us a picture," but a picture doesn't do very good. So he actually sent us up a couple pieces from the buildings, and we did an exact color match. So he took a bunch of these bottles out to the reunion, and within 5 minutes they were gone because it was an exact color match. Now we can't legally call it West Side Lumber, so we call it West Side Red.
Well, let me ask you, before we hang up on you here, and before we say goodbye, unfortunately we won't see you for a while because, let's face it, there are no shows coming up. Is there anything else you'd like to wrap up with about your work at Hunterline Models?
I think, give it a try. We solved our shipping problems that we had through November, December, and January. And we're down to now we can get the order in the morning and actually have it out later that day or the next day, which is really good. But yeah, we're always open to suggestions about what colors we should use or what somebody wants. We've been doing a lot of videos online, and we've been doing a lot of Zoom meetings. We actually have we're do a lot of make and takes at the conventions. Well, we're actually doing an online make and take coming up for May and June. It's 8 sessions that are 4 hour or half an hour long. So 8 half-an-hour long sessions, and the signing up is going really good. So we're trying to keep busy.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to say goodbye to you right now, and I appreciate you taking the time to stop by. And Lenny, Rick, we'll be seeing both of you guys at a show. I know you'll be finger deep in weathering mix, and we look forward to finally getting normal again if possible. Don't forget, folks, you can go to Hunterline Models. He has a website and has all kinds of different colors and concoctions. He's a little bit like, between the two of them, there's like Merlin. I could just see this whole thing with the boil. What's the thing with the three? No inference of a witch here, Maureen, just so as you know. But I could just see you with a cauldron coming up with some kind of a new color for weathering mixes one of these days. And
Almost clear.
and we wish you well, and we hope that we all get to share some time together real soon. So take care for both of you.
Okay, thanks a lot. Thanks a
Thank
lot,
you.
guys. Stay safe.
Thank you.
All righty. That's Rick Hunter and his wife Maureen from Hunter Line Models up in Canada. I'm going to take off these headphones. Now, next up for us here, we're running long tonight. I decided, what the hell? Nobody's getting paid by the hour here, so why don't we just have a good time? And if you really get bored, turn us off and
We're getting paid?
turn us off and put somebody else on. Are we clear right now, Lenny, as far as it goes?
We are.
Okay. Now, just so you know what's next up here. First of all, Jack is going to be giving a clinic, and as we kind of wind up what's going here.
These are mini clinics.
A mini clinic, right?
Yeah.
And here again, I'm trying to follow some of the comments here. Local hobby shop just got a full restock of Hunterline products. That's great. It's good to see hobby shops still around there. Bubble, toil and trouble.
That's it.
Okay, that's it. That's Dave BW. Please keep the comments coming. I'm only monitoring YouTube myself because I'm doing this on my visual is an iPhone. I can't watch both platforms at once. Lenny,
I'm watching both. So
And
we got you covered.
anybody else coming up with anything that we should respond to?
Not right this second.
Nothing we can say on air?
Okay.
Well, of course.
We're gonna-
There
we're gonna-
seems to be a hot conversation about the turnouts that Clark mentioned.
Yeah, well, they should be. They're great. Tim Morris. One of these days, Tim and I, we've broken bread before, and we've been friends for a long time now. I will definitely have Tim Morris on as a guest. Tim Morris owns not only Fast Tracks, which is how he started, I'm assuming, in the hobby, but he now owns Mount Albert Lumber.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal. We're going to take a couple 30-second back-to-back breaks while Jack gets his clinic together. But before we do that, I do want to say that on our first bomb of a show, which actually happened on a Monday, by the way, it was our first Monday. We had as a guest Daryl Huffman as well as Otto Von Drack from Railroad Model Craftsman. And in all fairness to them, we had so many technical difficulties that we were not able to pull off the kind of show that we worked so very hard to achieve. And we will be asking both of them back in the future. Otto and Daryl are both well respected and really good guys. And I actually eliminated any kind of hint of live streaming from both YouTube and Facebook because, frankly, for me it was an embarrassment. Bar Mills has always tried to be a company that just doesn't do it well, but does it really to the best of our capabilities, and that simply didn't reflect in that broadcast. So just to make it clear, I'm hoping that Daryl Huffman gets back in touch with me as possibly Otto, although I think Otto's worked a little smoother the way it worked out, but Otto, being the editor-in-chief of Railroad Model Craftsman, was a great guest, and he had great stories, Jack, if you remember.
Yeah.
So,
He was
Lenny, can you run a couple back? We're going to run a back-to-back here, so if you want to get up and go to the bathroom or grab a bottle of Poland Spring if you're here in Maine, Jack is going to get ready, and we're going to reset just a little bit so he can close us out with his mini clinic, as he calls it, right, Jack?
Yeah, we only got 2 hours.
All right, Lenny, let us know when we're ready to go here.
Right, we're back. I guess we're going to do a small clinic, and basically what I'm going to talk about is you get the kit, and if it's our kit, we have a bunch of detail parts, or others have a bunch of detail parts, but you can always add more. That's why we come out with these parts to sell separately, so you can take these parts and you can add them in and make it even more detailed than you really sometimes really want. But if you got something in the foreground, you want it detailed anyway. When you get away from the front of the layout, you want less detail. You want less detail so it looks like it's farther away, you don't see as much detail. So these foreground buildings are great. What I have here, I don't know if you can see that one. You can see in this one is my adaptation of Tylic tool. So as I said before, we always don't have to make it the way the directions show it all the time. You can add stuff to it. And what I've done to this one is, at the time I was building the first tribute kit, and all the buildings had cupolas on it. And I looked at Tylex and I said, let's put cupolas on the top of it. So we added 2 cupolas on the top of both buildings, which adds a little bit of different look to the building. Not a lot, but a little bit. It gives it a little more height, and height's always sometimes is good. When you have a height element, it kind of adds to the overall picture of the model. The other thing, I don't know if you can see, there is a open door here, and what we've done is we put a small figure in there, and right behind it there's a drill press. This is a machine company. They sell machines like lathes and drill presses and things like that. That's what I've run it as, and we put one in the door, and it looks like I've added this little scene right here, which is great. Always add small scenes within your diorama. You can have 2 or 3 scenes within the diorama that work out really well. And all we've done is add the fork truck, the man in the door upstairs, and the man down below. And now we have some action that's going on in a stagnant diorama. When your eye goes across and sees it, it looks like things are moving, but it's not really, because it knows how big people are and how big other things in relation to people are, so it kind of sees this stuff as movement. We've added a couple of tools that they're putting away, basically putting away. I modified the fork truck a little. The fork truck normally comes with it down, so I just kind of made it so it looked like it was lifting it up onto the platform. We added vents to the windows. You can see here, we added the little wheels to lift things up and down. Again, we've used that wire that I talked about, which is called lamp cord wire, because it's a stranded wire. You just pull out one strand, it works great, takes paint really well. We were talking about vertical things that add height to the model. And believe it or not, this telephone pole, in the front adds the height. Believe it or not, you can just throw that in. It adds a lot of height to the building, along with the big tree in the back. Those 2 things bring that height, dwarf the building, and make it look in what your eye sees as normal size. We have all kinds of junk. I don't know if you can see underneath the thing that we put in boxes and crates, brooms, soda bottle things. So we've created another little scene right here, and all I've done in this scene is put one little man in that's walking away, and it just gives an idea of the something going on in it. And I come from the old school of that my models come from the Contos model, so I do all 4 sides. So I've done on this building, I've done almost as much work on the back of this building as I have on the front. By adding a vent up the building, which didn't come to it, it adds a little more of that height, more window, more wheels, all kinds of junk around the building. Junk on the platforms. We weathered the concrete a little bit, even on this side here, down along the fence. We've stuck something in here. So these are all details that we've added to this building to add to the scene. And you know as well as I do, if you've ever seen George's layout, especially the old side of the layout, that every single inch of that layout has got details in it. The thing that I found out, that I buy these, you can buy them from Woodland Scenics, you can buy them from Scenic Express. They're called Tufts, and they come in many different colors. What I do is I buy I guess it's called Late Fall, which is almost the yellowish color. But then I'll take a little bit of acrylic paint and I'll paint just the tops of them. So it looks like I've got new grass and old grass mixed in with it. And it's a random mix. And by putting them in over tufts around the thing, you get an idea that there's some grass growing there, but it doesn't look like the golf course, if you know what I mean. It doesn't look like the mats that they used to have. So it gives you some detail in around the stones, in around the buildings, up against the buildings where weeds would stick up through the cracks. These are the things that, the little details that kind of show quite a bit. And even with the gator foam, I was able to dig through the gator foam and create a culvert right in the front here and just put the grass around and made a pipe coming through. So these are all little details that we've added to this to make the scene. The concrete, if you can see it, let me tip it up just a little bit. Concrete of the street is etched right into the gator board. It's just scribed in with my knife and then painted. And I got a kind of a technique. I use my finger, believe it or not, to rub the paint in. So I get a random effect and not brush strokes or it's a very random effect. It's kind of easy to do. The other thing I found.
Can you give me a second?
Oh, I'm blocking. Oh, I'm sorry, blocking the camera. He told me. He's my agent. Not much of one, but
Hollywood has not called you.
right. So. There's another product out by Scenic Express that I just found out. This is really cool. This is from Martin Wahlberg. It's called Bushes. I think it's Bushes. Yeah, Bushes. And this one happens to be a light green, and it comes on a platform, and you just peel off a section of it. This one doesn't have much of it on it, but don't need the load.
You need it?
Yeah.
There you go.
If you look at this one, you can see in the front of it, you can see how the bushes have stuck up above the grass, and it adds that one more texture. The things when you have texture.
Bring it towards you.
Oh, bring it towards me.
Yeah, you got to stay on the platform.
Yo, right over the platform.
Oh, sorry.
That's
There
what
you
I
go.
stay for.
There you go. Yeah. The thing that I like about a lot of these small things, light, airy things that you see through, they give it that delicate look, and that's kind of one of the reasons it makes it look kind of almost real. So let's talk about these detail parts that we're buying up. A lot of them are resin. This one is a bunch of barrels and a seat. This one was a gray. So basically what I would do first is, depending upon what I've got, this one has a lot of boxes and barrels on it. So what I'm going to do with this one first is I'm going to use, this is camouflage.
Jack, would you like me to move this stuff out of the way?
Yeah, you can do
You
that.
have to use it on top of the platform.
Yeah.
Don't leave the platform. Because that's where the camera is.
Yeah, I know. This is camouflage and it's sand. This is one of my base colors for almost anything that's going to be wooden color. So what I would do is I would spray this whole thing with this as using it as a primer to prime everything. And then I would just take my either ink and alcohol or my Hunter line and I would use it as a wash and slop it on anything that was going to be representing wood. And what that does is it highlights the cracks and the crevices in black. The barrel lines come out, the bands come out. All of it highlights the cracks and crevices. And the only thing you have to do after that, maybe 2 coats of the black, is you just take a little light dry brushing of, you can use a light tan acrylic paint and just kind of lightly brush it over the top so you catch the high parts of like the barrel stays and things like that. Not enough to go in the cracks, but just enough to cover a little bit of the top. And what it's going to do is it's going to bring a little more of the brown of the wood color into the barrel. And then you do your bands with a very small brush, a number 0 brush. And then if I'm going to do my rusting material,
Let me just do this so
Yeah.
this doesn't cover
Yeah.
that.
this is weathering powders. There's a bunch of people out there that use it. I use this because I use it with ink and alcohol or Hunter line. And what I'll do is I'll take a number 0 brush, I'll dip it in the ink and alcohol, dip it in here, and I'll make like a little paste. I can make a paste, and with that paste then I have great control where I can put little lines of rust or big lines of rust, and then I'll get all the lines done, and then I'll dip it in the ink and alcohol, and then I'll wash it down a little bit, the whole thing. Where I've used the brush lines, it's going to leave a line of rust, and then it's going to wash the edge of it so they're not sharp. So they're not sharp. They're going to be softened out. So it's not going to look like a line, but it's going to look like a demark of the edge of the detail part you're painting. So these are some of the detail parts. Again, most of the detail parts are earthy colors, grays, browns, blacks, and then you're going to go back over them with some of your weathering powders, your rust colors, and your browns and your blacks. Just be careful with the black powders. Black powders are very aggressive, and then all of a sudden you're going to find out you got too much on it. If you get too much on it, you can wash it down with a little alcohol if you want, and sometimes that'll go away. Do you have any questions?
Well, I know I'm not looking at questions here offhand. I am reading a couple of comments. John Clark says, great clinic, Jack, thank you. Horton Monroe wants to know if there's any way of zooming in on the close-ups. I think the thing is we just have to work on the other side of the camera, so we've gotten closer.
We are zoomed in.
We are zoomed in.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, and Marilyn Downing says, I do the same thing for my places that I'm working on. So a very similar approach. Now, Jack, for highlighting the detailed castings that you have there, you're using, that's a powder you're saying, right?
I'm using, this is a powder.
Right.
Right. And what I'm doing is I'm using the alcohol, ink and alcohol, or Hunter line, either one, they're both the same. I'm using it as a carrier to get that material onto my building in very, very fine lines. And then if I want to make that line a little bigger, I can wash it down with alcohol, and it will actually drip down a little bit, not too much, but a little bit, down the building just like it's supposed to be. That's what it's going to look like if it was being washed down. Believe it or not, there is an eraser that they make, an artist eraser that they use with charcoal drawing that you can take, and you can actually get this material off of your model. You can actually take the eraser and erase it off and get 90% of it off the model if you ever get too much.
Now, do you ever use dry brushing anymore, or have you found that to be going more into an older style of modeling?
No, dry brushing is all in. It's all in the whole package. A white dry brushing or a lighter color, like if this is this barrel is brown, I will take a light tan and dry brush with a light tan instead of a white. And what it'll do is it'll just highlight the edges, but it's not going to be that harsh white that you get when you dry brush with white. So that's going to bring out the edges and the detail that some of it you wouldn't see if you didn't highlight it.
I have a question for you, Jack. When it comes to dry brushing, it's easy to over dry brush.
Yep.
What do we do to make it right?
I use, again, if I'm using acrylic paint, I can wash it down with a little bit of water. With a little bit of water, we can take some of that off and let it kind of flow into the cracks. And then if it's really too much, I can go back over it with a little more ink and alcohol and let it kind of just soften the whole white.
We have Todd Bryan here asks, what kind of weathering powder do you use and where do you get them?
Okay, this one that I used with my ink and alcohol was Bar Mill sold it, but Bragdon sells it. I think Voss sells it. There's a bunch of people that sells the powders, not the pan pastels. The problem with the pan pastels is they already have an oil in them, so you don't want to play with them with the alcohol. So this is the weathering powders by either Bragdon or somebody like that. And I just get one of the rust colors and use that, just that one rust color. Then in my pan pastels, because sometimes you don't get that dusty patina that you want with the ink and alcohol because it kind of flows it in. I'll go over it with a little bit of pan pastels, the color I want, maybe almost a yellowish rust or a dark brown rust.
We have another question. John asks, when it comes to powder colors, do you have a certain palette that you generally lean to and use like the most, the ones that you really use more frequently than others?
I'll use a brown, which is a burnt umber. I'll use a black. I have a light green. I don't even know what the green is. I use that for the base of my walls. That would be like a little mold or things like that. Not a lot of it. excuse me, just a little bit. I'll use, there's a yellowish, it's almost a yellowish red, which is kind of a strange combination, but I use that as my top cover of rust. It's almost a terracotta color, and I like that color because it's kind of, it's bright compared to the rest of it. So I like those three in the pan pastels. Black. I use on my streets charcoal take a charcoal briquette, and you want to grind it down, believe it or not, because it's not so aggressive. The black is really, really dark if you get too much on it. So if I take this charcoal briquette and just sand it down till I get a fine powder and I put that on, I can work that in a layer very, very easily.
All right, we have John here again asking now, once you've planted, and I'm going to paraphrase this, once you've planted your detail castings,
Yep.
and you put them next to your building or wherever on your diorama, what techniques do you use to blend the detail castings and show any kind of environmental impact they may have had in the scene? In other words, Jack, what I'm thinking is saying is, if you have a bright green grass, is it no longer bright green as you approach the placement of the detail parts?
All right, let me find one here, and I'll show you what we did.
Can I clear this for you a little bit? Make some space.
I can do it right here. Can you see that?
I can see you good.
If you look in the back of this building, you can actually see a path. I don't know if you can see it. There's a path where people have walked and put all this material back here. But around that path is some greenery. And then you stick in your random grass here and there, like up against the building or between these things, where people wouldn't walk. And the other one over here, if you look over here a little bit, I don't know if you can see it right here, you can see the barrels. I've taken some ink and alcohol and a little bit of black acrylic paint to show where the oil has dripped out of the barrel. Very simple things to do, and if somebody's going to get close to it, you're going to see these types of things. So what I've done is I've put down my base color of dirt, basically dirt. I use dirt, a very fine dirt that I found, and then I will sprinkle in a little bit of ground foam, of green ground foam, which has green and yellow in it. And then I will decide where my pathway was. And I have some Durham's water putty, or rock hard, same stuff. And I will sprinkle that on as my sand. And I will use that as to highlight my path. And you can see the path right behind the building. And actually over here where the people would have driven off the concrete, and there's no grass, we just put it straight water putty here. So that's what I do. And then I put tufts of these little tufts that we talked about here. These tufts is, after the dirt has hardened, I will then take a little bit of crazy glue and actually adhere them directly to the grass, to the dirt, and put them in and move them around to where I like the look of them.
You want to keep them out on the
Yeah.
platform. Okay, what's up next, Jack?
All right, we were talking about our chimneys before.
Right.
So what we did is we took our plain old inexpensive primer, gray primer, and I've painted 3 of these. You can see the overspray here and everything else. So once they're paint, I let them dry, and I usually like to let them dry overnight, so that paint hardens up really well. Then I'll go back over and paint my brick color, and that usually takes 2 coats because it's acrylic. Get two good coats and get it sealed up, and then I'll paint what would normally be my. This would have been a concrete filler between the pipe and the brick. So then I'd get it all painted to be done. So my next step would be I want to do my mortar. So all I have to do is snap it right off. Comes right off, and this is what they call one time. It's a acrylic lightweight spackle, and I'm going to tell you, if you have a Dollar Tree or a dollar store, this is like $4.95 in any other store. Go in and buy one of these for $1, and I'll tell you why. The one for $1 doesn't dry out compared to the other ones. They all dry out, and I never get to the bottom. And this stays as a nice, soft little paste, if you can see that. So all I'm going to do is push it in with these handy applicators that I have. But I have 5 of these applicators. Actually, I have 10. And I'm going to basically wipe it in. And I'm going to a little hard to do it to show you, but I'm doing it. I'm going to wipe 90% of it off. And what it's going to do, then I can come back and I can clean it out up here in the top. It gags up. But when I'm done and that dries, I've just mortared my whole chimney. Very simply. It's going to dry. The nice thing about this is once it's dry, it's stainable. So if I want brown or I want black or I want a dark mortar, all I have to do is stain the whole chimney with ink and alcohol or something like that, and I change my mortar color. So my next step would be to take my rust. I'm going to take a little bit of the rust with the alcohol and make a paste, and I make this, I don't know if you can see it, there's rings on this where the pipes would come together. I'm going to paint right around those rings with this fine thing with a heavy line of this rusty material. And then I'm going to take it and I'm going to pull it down, a little of it down the pipe, like this. And then I'm going to take a nut and just dip it in the ink and alcohol and wash the whole thing right down. So I'm still going to have these heavier lines on the bands, but to wash it down, and then I'm going to run some down here at the bottom. At the bottom, I'm going to run it down here so it looks like it's running.
Now I have to interrupt you for a second, Jack. Number one, we had a comment here. It says, really good to see you streaming. Let's all hit the thumbs up so we get some support on this. The other thing is, I'd like to see some response as far as Jack, and we can extend this clinic for a while, but we're kind of up against our schedule already. Would you like us to keep going for a while here? There's no problem with it. Or the thing of it is, have we overextended our welcome? Because frankly, I've seen Jack's clinics before, and they can go to dawn.
Yeah,
so
they have gone to dawn.
They have. So with that in mind, basically, Jack, have you covered most of what you wanted to do tonight?
Yeah, I got about 2 or 3, 4 minutes, and then we'll be done.
Well, I'll tell you what. Jack has a couple minutes left. I think more importantly, or as importantly, is what he has to say. Is this aspect of, look, you're there, you can type in, you can let us know specifically what questions you have, because that's something that we all kind of work on when we give clinics, and Jack is no exception. So I'm keeping an eye right here on the feed. At least I'm watching the YouTube feed, Lenny, so you know.
I'm watching both.
Okay, so if you have any specific questions, Jack is going to go on and conclude this, but if you have any questions, this is a great time to ask. Now, just so as you know, the next time we're doing this will be the first Monday, God willing, of May. And Jack will not be here. Jack is going to be going away on vacation. So
I'll be in North Carolina.
So if you need a clinician in North Carolina,
yeah,
I'll give you Jack's.
I've been there.
We'll give you Jack's number. But he'll be down in North Carolina, and the fact of it is we will be skipping this portion of the broadcast in all likelihood. So, that being said, if you have any questions, please ask tonight, because there will be a short hiatus for Jack. A little unexpected, but certainly well deserved. So, Jack, now I see you using a very fine tip brush,
Yep.
some pan pastels with
So all I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of highlight along the under edge, and believe it or not, down the corners. I don't like this brush, but that's all right. It's what I got. But you can see, if you get too much of it on there, you're going to have trouble. So you want to work just a little bit of this brush in and move it down the chimney.
Jack, actually, we've had some requests here from Trudy Seeley, old Trudy. I don't mean to say it like that. Michael Sauter, and Lowell Patton, and Tim Winchell. And for some reason, go figure, they actually like what you're doing.
Oh, good.
What are the chances? I'll tell you what. Todd Bryant says, good clinic. Dennis Hanlon says, arrived late and missed the first half. Don't forget, Dennis, this is going to be recorded on both Facebook and YouTube, so you'll be able to watch this entire thing back. Paul Lee says, thanks for all the tips. Going to be looking for water putty and cheap spackle now. Just wait until we're done. Okay?
Yeah.
You don't have to leave this moment.
The water putty works really well for dirt roads. It works really well for a tar road, because you can lay this out, and with a palette knife you can smooth it out a little bit. Don't have to do too much, and then you can paint it whatever color you want, black, and weather it up with a light gray or some white pan pastels, or there's a beigey color pastel too. So what we've done here is we've just made some of the dirt running down the side of the chimney. It's going to be a little more highlighted on the corners, and then you're going to get your rust on the top. And these can be done very quickly. You don't have to spend a lot of time.
You know something I remember, Jack, when I was doing more modeling and less management, was that whenever I used regular chalks, we used to take chalks and scrape them off with an X-Acto blade.
Mm-hmm.
But you try to fix them, and they would
They'll
just
Just
disappear.
disappear.
They would go away.
Yeah.
Pan pastels are my favorite, to be honest with you. I just love the things, and I have a full assortment of them. My favorite colors are actually white and yellow. But the fact of it is, I noticed that with these, when we use them, we never have to worry about them not being there visually once we apply them, right?
Yeah. If they're what I think they are, and for the longest time, we didn't have pan pastels, but what I used was the red Chocoline chalk, which
Right.
is basically the same thing to use my rust. I had to do basically an elevated train trestle across the city, and it's 6 feet long, and we had to paint it black and rust it. And we just couldn't figure out how to do it till we came across Chocoline chalk and makeup brushes. And we just went through the whole thing, and it stayed on it, and we were so thrilled, and just threw it on the layout. So I think what it is what they do have, there's a micro beads of oil in
A
it.
pigment or something.
Oil.
Oil.
And when you rub it on, you break those beads, and it makes it stick. It makes it stick and stay there, so it gives it some tooth to hold on.
Now we have a comment from James Reese. Now Jim Reese is someone who's hit us on the top of our Facebook page a lot because he submitted quite a few pictures, and he does wonderful modeling, Jim, so you know that. I've said it out loud and in person, and I made you famous. I expect a cut. Jim says, enjoyed reading about how to do stonework on the resin casting of the tower at Cranberry Yard. Many of the techniques cross over. Now, don't say anything. Just to be clear here, the base on the tower of the Cranberry Yard was hand built by Jack. Jack's actually the fellow who put that together.
Stone by stone.
Stone by stone.
Actually, it was. We basically made up the stones. There's a technique, a way to break them off so they're not smooth, and then we built a block, the right size minus the thickness of the walls, and then we glued all those blocks to all those little blocks, just like you built a regular stone wall. And then once we did it, we sealed it with a varnish, and we sent it off to have it cast. And that's basically how we built it.
And it's not the only one, because we use similar techniques. As a matter of fact, we do have another kit coming up. It'll be a while. This has been tripping over. This is something with Jim Mooney, our engineer, and Jack have been working on, and I've been staying out of this because I don't know enough about this. And it's always good to know what you're talking about. And this time I am left in the dust. It's the sanding.
It's a sanding
Tower,
house
is
and
it?
tower. Yeah.
It's a house and tower.
So it will have a sanding bin with a cast piece that's got all the sand and the pile of sand in it. It also has a stone building, which is actually the drying hut. They would take the sand and they would run it through a dryer, then they would pump it up into a container that was up in the air, and as the locomotives would come in and still the diesels come in, they would put sand so they could apply the sand to the rails in front of the wheels or behind the wheels to get traction so that when they started out. So our problem with this was not the building and not the sand house, but building the tower itself and getting all those little pieces and all those little castings all done. So it's very similar to the one that's the sanding tower that's at Durango. So we kind of use that as a prototype and went from there. So when it's done, it will fit in with the yard, house, the water tank.
It's all part of the Cranberry Yard series now.
It'll all be it's the same block, so it all looks the same.
Well, right now the Cranberry Yard series, I initially did two buildings: the office at Cranberry Yard, and what was the other one, Len?
The freight house.
The freight house at Cranberry Yard. Then we added the tower at Cranberry Yard, the water tower. We had the yard tower, then the water tower, which we came with two versions: one for the Bar Mills Direct customers that had the ancillary shed on the side.
Right.
Then Jack, we've been working on the sand house at Cranberry Yard, and this will be way later in the season, so you understand. Then we also have coming up. Then we came out with the RDA depot at Cranberry. Now we didn't say Cranberry Yard, but it fits in with the theme. It's just that it doesn't have to be used within the yard setting, correct?
Right.
And now we have
the speeder house,
We have a speeder house
which is
going
an
on.
end of the track speeder house
Right.
and repair shed.
And these, by the way, I have to tell you, I'm not showing them to you, but they're all done. It's just that they had not been engineered yet to make sure that the models and the kit actually match the way they should.
Yeah, the prototypes are done.
What else do we have on that?
There is a small maintenance building,
Right.
a little rectangular building. There will be a 3 small buildings like it's kind of like the Shack Pack, only it's all buildings that you would use
For a yard.
in a railroad yard.
Right.
Like
Right.
a track pack.
Yeah, we're going to call it the
It's
track,
track
pack.
pack, there you
We're going
go.
to call it a track pack. So that'll give you a chance to play with this stuff. Again, it's like another entry.
And we have a small office too.
uh,
The one with the gable on 4 sides.
that's basically the warehouse. That's a maintenance warehouse is what we basically call it. It's
And
not-
we are working on or talking about doing a service pit, right?
we have a service pit we're looking at, and then a single stall engine house. So this will be kind of like a backwoods one. This is a smaller one. So eventually these are all going to be put on one diorama. So we have to build 2 of them, some of them 2 of them, so they can. One goes on for the sale of it particular building, and then one for the diorama.
And then I've already actually looked into the showcase for this for Springfield next year. Also, just so as you know, yes, Jack is going to do all of the work, and I get all of the glory.
Well, I'm almost done with all of my models for the summer. To tell you the truth,
no.
I have another one in
now.
there.
We're working on the Christmas kit.
We have another one that's done too.
I know that we can't talk about all of these.
There's another
Anyhow,
one that's
yes, Lenny. What's
Got a
up?
couple questions if you guys got the time.
we got the beer.
First off, the colors on the Tyler tool, what did you use on that?
It is, believe it or not,
We can let's just place it on this so we get the proper unobstructed view here, so you can see it better. I think I know where you're going to go with this.
why do they
already.
all ask me this color? The trim is Depot Beige. You can find it. It is a polyester color, but you can get it in acrylic paint. So it is a light yellowish beige. And the other one is, believe it or not, is Woodland Scenics Concrete. All right, they make a bottle of concrete paint. Do not get the one that's made to color earth. You want the concrete, because the one that you use to color, it's a wash, and it's not has as much pigment in it. You want to get the one that is concrete.
Now I have to interfere here. Now you understand that as Bar Mills, we have a deal with Woodland Scenics. We promote them, they promote us, and we offer you some great deals on the figures. You know, you can buy them. This is a pitch here, but you can get the figures at 20% off. We never did, Lenny, as we know. We never updated our website for the O-scale selection. We have a lot of O-scale figures.
We do have a lot of those scale figures.
We do. We just never put them on the website. And one of the things I will be purchasing and making available at the standard discount, because we do like to offer Woodlands as a wonderful perk, because it's so much a part of modeling as far as we see it, and in helping to develop that whole scene. We will be getting in the Woodland Scenics concrete. What do they call it exactly? It's just not concrete. It's a road. What is it? How do they phrase it?
I think it's top coat. I can't. I'm not going to say it because I'll give you the wrong one.
But we will. It comes in what size bottle is that, Jack?
Oh, it's a little tall one. It's the one that it's the same bottle that they use for the colors to color the stone and stuff.
But we will be. We have access to that on a wholesale basis, and we will be making that available on the Bar Mills website.
What, is
And
it top?
I think it's about 6 or 8 ounces, but maybe I'm wrong. Does
Well,
it say?
it
Lenny's
is.
looking
It is
up.
called Top Coat Concrete.
Yeah.
And it is. Let's see here. 4 ounces.
4, which is a lot of paint.
Yeah.
You remember when we used to buy the polyscale flow quill? Those were half an ounce or
Yeah,
maybe
you're
an
not going to
ounce.
go through it, and it's going to take you a long time. And it's one of my go-to colors. I use it a lot. And then over that, there's a light wash of ink and alcohol, which sinks into all my nail holes, all the cracks, all the lifted boards. So it kind of brings all that stuff out.
Now we did have, not to interfere with you, are any new end scale in the works? I think we kind of went over that earlier, Todd. No, yes, but no. Not immediately, but definitely some. And they're discussing on here, Gene Trumbull is discussing a pounce wheel for nail holes. Now you could also use a pin. In the old days you could use a pin. And you understand, nail holes are not that necessary. So they can be overdone. So using nail holes is an option, and using them in specific places. There are certain spots that they actually cry out for them maybe a little bit more than other spots, right, Jack?
That building here has nail holes in it.
And you would barely know it.
Yeah, but you barely know it because in some places I push a little hard, in some places I don't want them all showing. I just want them here and there, like paint's filled some of them in, some of them aren't. So you get the idea they're there, but they're not. I mean, there are some people that push so hard, it looks like a zipper.
It does. And now the nail holes are traditionally made with a sewing apparatus. You know, if you were a seamstress, called a pounce wheel. It's for making patterns and punching holes in a piece of paper. But the thing of it is the space between the, I don't want to call them prongs, the spikes, I guess, whatever, right?
And they're square.
Right.
They're not round.
Well, they may not be round, but the thing of it is this: they go by how many per inch. Like if you have a saw, they'll go by how many teeth per inch on a saw. Well, in this case, what you want to do is pretty much, unless you're an O scale or maybe even G, I guess, you want to go for the pounce wheel that has the most teeth per inch, because that'll give you a finer pattern as opposed to having a nail hole here and a nail hole a foot lower, which wouldn't be realistic. You want to have something that at least comes across. But remember, if they are too close, there's such a thing as it won't look like separate nail holes anymore.
Right.
It'll just look like you just scribe down with the edge of an X-Acto.
I probably would not suggest trying nail holes in N scale. I think you're going to find out you run into more trouble.
And you know what? You can emulate nail holes quite easily by using that same technique that you were talking about with a fine brush and just a little bit of a drag.
You can do it a little bit, yeah.
And that may work better, especially in the scale like N scale.
I'll sometimes do that on a line of nail holes, but my wash will be very weak. It's not a very strong one, so it basically sinks into the nail hole and darkens just a nail hole and leaves the rest of it not.
Now, Gene Trumbull says there are 3 sizes of pounce wheels. I think that's the popular concept. There may be more than 3. There's always specialty shops with these things.
The 3 that he's talking about is if you're going to buy them from a model railroad hobby store or Micro Mart or something like that. There's Vintage Productions has 3, one for each scale is basically what he's done. So you go get the one for the appropriate scale. So,
I think that's going to be it for tonight, guys.
wait a minute, I got one more thing.
Yeah, one more thing. Okay.
I don't know if you guys have found these or not, but these are basically they're paint pens. Okay, so I've got this pen, and this, I don't know if you can see this, but that is like a fine point magic marker, but it's actually distributes paint, and this one happens to be a silver like a chrome paint. So if I want to add some very detailed chrome paint, I can do it. Like if I'm doing bumpers on a car or something like that, I can actually paint them with this paint pen. Or you can get the one like this one, which has a very big magic marker. And I think I painted one of my diners with this, which would have been like a stainless steel diner, and it comes out that bright. If I'm used to using my old Testors chrome paint, but I use this even more and more and more, and they last quite a bit. They've got a shaker in it that brings the paint down, and it works. They work very well, and they're in black and they're in all colors.
I have a question here from. It says, "This is kind of funny, folks. Does Jack have his own YouTube channel?" Jack's computer was made in 1957.
Well, I don't have any floppies anymore.
And does he have any other videos? Well, you know what?
Mine is wood powered.
You have firepower?
Yeah,
you've got steam figures. I knew that was coming. So you're talking to a guy here who lives in the woods without internet.
I have internet.
Yeah, well,
not yesterday you did.
No, no one had it. Actually, when I got home, it was there.
And this is actually the secret to this whole thing. We hesitate to tell you, but the secret to Jack's success is the fact that because he's so tech unsavvy, he actually spends time building instead of
no interruptions.
No interruptions, okay?
No, that's not true. That's not true. Yeah.
Anyhow, we're in April now. May 3rd is the first Monday. Count on having a plague of locusts. Or maybe another internet down, or maybe, I don't know, maybe something will crash into something. Who the hell knows? It's the way this has been. This has been a lot of fun tonight, Jack. Thank you very much for showing up and doing your job.
Yep.
And
Well,
thank you very much for Lenny too, by the way.
One question before we close it out. Everybody asks this: cheap primer. Where am I getting it from?
This one.
This one's empty. You can get a good deal on this.
Touch and Tone.
That's
it's
what I
two
buy.
something. Aubuchon.
Aubuchon. Yeah, Aubuchon is a
I think-
northeastern hardware store.
Yeah.
But just get the cheapest you can, and that's the same one I use too, by the way. So.
Well, yeah, I found another company that sells stuff down in Manchester that sells it for $1.50. So that's where I go and get it.
Sometimes the dollar store will have it. Every once in a
Yeah,
while.
they do run this. They do run this brand. So if you buy this, if you're there at the same time, buy the flat white, okay? Because if I'm priming something that I'm going to use bright colors on, like I'm doing that pump, and I want some of the pump to be white, I'll prime it with the white, and then I'll paint my colors on top of the white.
I have
Much
to get in here
easier.
with this, Jack. Sometimes the paint isn't the big deal. You need a flat paint. You need a very thin paint if possible. It'll dry quicker and it won't hide detail. But there's a part of this whole equation that we all have to be, you're going to think back and you're going to say, makes sense. The nozzle on top of some paints, little spit and splatter and freeze up on you. And you know what? The paint isn't worth anything if you can't get it out of the can. The best nozzles I've ever used, and I like this as a primer these days, without question. The best nozzles are the ones that come on Rust-Oleum and what's the other brand of
Krylon?
Krylon, Rust-Oleum and Krylon. Now these are $7 or $8, but you'll get every ounce of paint out of there. They can be.
Yeah.
And it comes out like a very fine airbrush. You won't clog it, and yes, you're paying more money, but you'll have it much longer. So you have to make up your mind: are you willing to risk having spitting paint? I can never change a nozzle. It's always a pain in the butt.
Do it all the time.
He does it all the time. He's the talented guy.
I have 5 or 6 of these plain old nozzles. The other trick, supposedly the trick, is to shake it up, turn the upside down when you're done with it, and spray it, and it will just spray the propellant and not the paint, and that'll clean out your tip, your sprayer. It'll keep it from clogging up. You don't get as much paint in the.
So that's it for Bar Mills tonight. I'm glad this worked out. We hope we gave you a little something special.
It's after 9 o'clock.
It's been a long night, but it's been
I gotta
good.
ride.
And I know we have a lot of viewers, and if we drag this on too much, I apologize. Jack will be here next week.
So
next
that's why
month.
I went long.
So without Jack here, we really got nothing to say.
I might
Next month, he meant. Next month.
I might call in.
Mike, and we might answer.
Yeah.
So what do we have here? Thanks, gentlemen. You're welcome. Thanks, Todd. Looking for another show next month. Trudy Seeley stuck with us. I'll tell you what. And Trudy's a knowledgeable modeler. I spoke to Trudy once about becoming a guest on this broadcast. And Trudy, we haven't forgotten you. I want to say thank you also to Jim Mooney, who's not with us tonight, and with to my beautiful wife Nancy.
He's listening.
I bet you Jim's listening,
listening.
but there's
He's
no
listening.
nasty comments, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, but we haven't had anything bad.
Yeah, I don't know, and of course to Frank Bernard, another associate builder here at Bar Mills, and of course to Len Ledman who put this together. And yeah, we have other guys that work at the shop, but you know what? They're not modelers. Those are the guys that basically. They can leave walk on sand and not leave a footprint as far as it goes, but they are important with production. Anyhow, for Len Lednam, for my wife Nance, for Jim Mooney, for Frank Bernard, of course for Jack Ellis and myself, Artie Fahey, thank you for visiting with us tonight at Bar Mills. And God willing, we'll all be together, maskless, hopefully, to do this yet once again on May 3rd, on the next first Monday.
Oh, by the way, we've all been vaccinated, so that's why we don't have to have masks.
That and we're in Maine. Okay. All right, that's it. Lenny,
Have a
are we
great night,
going?
guys.